The BR77E roller door may be installed in walls made of ferroconcrete, bricks or metal framework. The room in which it is to be installed should be completely finished, including the floor. The walls cannot show signs of any faults or defects. The floor along the bottom seal should be properly leveled and made in such a way as to ensure proper water flow off. The room should be dry and free from any chemicals that might damage the door's paintwork. Before you start the installation, check the opening in the wall where the door is to be mounted. Measure its height, width and diagonals. Compare the measured values with the door dimensions. If they correspond, start the assembly. The Wiśniowski BR77E roller door consists of the curtain, vertical guide rails, a tubular servo motor and an automatic control unit. Start the installation procedure. Mark and drill holes along the ceiling strip at distances specified in the assembly and operating instructions. Put the wooden protectors underneath the ceiling strip to protect the strip from damage. Place the ceiling strip on the door head, level it, mark the holes, then put the ceiling strip away and drill the holes. Screw the ceiling strip to the door head and clean it of any dirt. Position the vertical guide rails at the edges of the ceiling strip. Its edges should touch the vertical guide rails. Having done this, start the installation of the vertical guide rails. Mark holes along the vertical guide rails at distances specified in the assembly and operating instructions. Drill the holes through the vertical guide rails. Use the wooden protectors to prevent any damage to the protective coating. Clean the vertical guide rails of any metal particles. Measure the height of the box and use this measurement to mark on the door head the holes for mounting the angle brackets as specified in the assembly and operating instructions. Protect the ceiling strip before you start drilling. Having covered the ceiling strip, drill the holes and screw in the screws that hold the angle brackets, leaving a 5 mm clearance. Take off the protector from the ceiling strip and remove any particles or impurities produced by the drilling. Slide the element that connects the curtain casing with the profile into the vertical guide rails. Secure the vertical guide rails in such a way that at the points where the vertical guide rails make contact with the curtain casing, the edges align precisely. Place this structure on the wall and align it with the opening. Secure the vertical guide rails in the upright position. The leveling tool should indicate vertical position within the specified tolerance limits. Place the leveling tool on the profile that connects the side covers and make sure it is in vertical position. Mark the mounting holes. Put the structure away, drill holes of required depth and drive in the plastic plugs. Realign the structure with the opening. Make sure it is in vertical position. If the structure is not in vertical position, reposition it. Screw the vertical guide rails to the wall, but do not tighten the screws, which will later allow you to make adjustments. Unscrew the curtain cover. Manually insert the curtain into the profiles of the vertical guide rails. Fix the crank of the emergency drive system on the axis and turn it in the closed direction. Pay attention to the turning direction of the crank. While turning, make sure that the curtain is being unfolded. Unwind the curtain until it covers the entire door opening. Stop the unwinding when the top profile presses against the ceiling strip. Further unwinding will cause the hangers to bend and break, which will damage the curtain. A properly closed door presses against the ceiling strips along its entire perimeter. Fix the angle brackets. adjust their position and tighten the screws. Tighten the screws that hold the vertical guide rails. Press the profile that connects the side covers to the wall and bend the mounting metal brackets at 90 degrees. Repeat the same procedure for the remaining angle brackets. Screw on the curtain cover. The video presents an example of electrical connections. The actual arrangement will depend on where the 230 volt mains socket is situated in the room. Having finished the electrical connections, adjust the position of the door curtain by adjusting the position of the limit switches. Perform the adjustment using the adjustment screw provided with the door. The adjustment screws of the limit switches must never be turned while the door curtain is in motion. The adjustment of the limit switches in the door with the remote control system should be performed using the bipolar up and down manual switch temporarily connected to the drive unit while adjustments are being made. Do not use the button on the control box or the remote control unit, as the servo motor works with some delay after receiving the impulse, which may make it difficult to adjust the upper or lower position of the curtain. When adjusting the limit switch of the lower position of the curtain, use as the reference point the way the hangers and the top profile are positioned after the door has been completely closed. If the limit switch of the lower position of the curtain is set too early in relation to the optimal position, turn the manual switch to the down position and then, holding the switch, slightly turn the adjustment screw of the lower position of the curtain in the plus direction until the door starts working. If the curtain, that is the top profile and the hangers, is not in the required position when the door has stopped, repeat the same procedure until the proper adjustment is achieved. If the limit switch of the lower position of the curtain is set too late, do the following. Turn the door on and then stop it approximately 50 cm above the floor. Slightly turn the adjustment screw of the lower position of the curtain in the minus direction, then turn the door on again to let it close, and wait until the curtain closes completely. If the curtain, that is the top profile and the hangers, is still not in the required position when the door has stopped, repeat the same procedure until the proper adjustment is achieved. When adjusting the limit switch of the upper position of the curtain, use as the reference point the position of the bottom profile after the door has been completely open. If the limit switch of the upper position of the curtain is set too early in relation to the optimal position, then turn the manual switch to the up position and, holding the switch, slightly turn the adjustment screw of the upper position of the curtain in the plus direction until the door starts working. If the curtain, that is the bottom profile, is still not in the required position when the door has stopped, repeat the same procedure until the proper adjustment is achieved. If the limit switch of the upper position of the curtain is set too late in relation to the optimal position, do the following. If the bottom profile of the curtain slides out of the guide rails, manually slide the curtain back into the guide rails. Turn the door on to let it close and then stop it approximately 50 cm below the door head. Slightly turn the adjustment screw of the upper position of the curtain in the minus direction. Then turn the door on again to let it open and wait until the curtain stops. If the curtain, that is the bottom profile, is still not in the required position when the door has stopped, repeat the same procedure until the proper adjustment is achieved. The limit switch of the upper position should be adjusted in such a way as to leave approximately 100 mm of the curtain in the guide rails when the door is fully open. Having finished all the adjustments, open and close the door to make sure the limit switches work properly. Install the photocell. The photocell set consists of a sender and a receiver. Wiring for the photocells should be done in advance. Take off the casing of the first photocell and take out the printed circuit board. Place the base of the photocell on the wall where the wire goes out of the wall. Mark the holes to be drilled on the wall. Put the base of the cell away, drill the holes and drive the plastic plugs into them. Pull the wire through the hole in the lower part of the photocell base. Fix the base on the wall. Connect photocells in accordance with the assembly and operating instructions. Having made the connections, replace the casing. Install the second photocell opposite the first one, so that the infrared beam emitted by the sender can be received by the receiver. Check that the photocells work properly. This instructive video is not a substitute for the assembly and operating instructions, and only presents a general overview of the procedures that must be performed when installing and operating the door. The detailed procedures and recommendations are described in the assembly and operating instructions provided with the product.